All right, everybody, welcome back to the Reese Moby podcast. Today we are here with Aaron, and I'll just let you introduce yourself because as we'll get into, there's a lot going on. I want to get into the polymath, and I know that just means generalist, like a lot of different things. So I'll let you speak that for yourself, but thank you for coming on today.
Thanks, Reese. So I've spent the past 2 years writing on threads. It's funny how it kind of all went together because I think it was like 2023. No, it's almost been almost, it was over 2.5 years actually. It was 2023 January, and I don't know why, but the YouTube algorithm decided to start feeding me Dan Co videos. And so I started getting programmed into the Dan Co school of thought. And it was like over the course of like 6 months from January to June. And I was just kind of watching them here and there. And then something along around July where I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna start writing online. I'm gonna re-download X, or at the time it was still getting turned into X because Elon just bought it at the time. And but right as I was about to download X, I got a notification from the App Store, and it was from Instagram, something like that, where it's like, "Hey, check out this new app we just created called Threads." And so I downloaded that, and I mean, I just started posting on there about like broad, like self-improvement, fitness. Like my first username was literally like Leonero Fit. Leonero is my middle name. So it was just called Billionaire Fit. And that's all I posted about for a little while. And then I don't know, to me, I feel like I've always been kind of centered on the idea that I'm always more than just like fitness or whatever singular aspect of my life. And I've always kind of known about the word polymaths. And one of the big books that really got me into that was the Steve Jobs book. That I think there was an idea there where he said that I all I had to do was stand at the intersection of like the sciences and the humanities, and that kind of led me down that whole like the whole
Yeah.
set of books by Walter Isaacson. But basically, I started writing about it in like January of like 2024, and I just get and then eventually one of my posts, I don't even remember, but one of them like kind of drew a lot of attention from that. And I realized, oh, you know what, like this is something that people are kind of want to hear about. Plus, it's also just been a part of my own journey. So really, it's been the past year or so, year and a half, where I've been writing mainly about the whole polymath space and just that whole sphere in general.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's something I'm certainly drawn towards because yeah, I've been in the space just about as long, maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, right around the era where it was shifting from Twitter to X. And I've really not been on Threads until recently, and I just pretty much cross post. But yeah, ever since then, it's like that's a long time to kind of be figuring yourself out, and especially like coming from the Dan Co route of like, okay, what are your interests? Now make money online doing that. That's like his whole philosophy for anybody listening who may not know. Um, it's like, okay, well, I personally have a lot of different interests. There's so many things I don't know what to do. And all the professionals, like a good marketer, or personal brander is like, okay, niche down, speak to one specific person, make yourself an expert and authority on that one niche. And I'm like, I've tried that in the past. And like first it was social skills, which I did not have any at the time. So it was actually very ironic. But it was like, okay, I'm gonna pick something, I'm gonna get good at that, and I'm gonna share that. And then from social skills, it changed to general like personal branding. And then that didn't resonate after like a couple weeks or a month. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna shift into writing. And that went through a lot of different shifts. I went through a deep like spirituality or consciousness. I was super into David Hawkins and the maps of consciousness work. And now that has shifted into health and holistic health. And only now, like this much time later, I believe I made my Twitter account February 23, I think. I'm going to open my profile. Yeah, February 2023. Posting consistently almost that whole time. So it's like I've gone through a lot of different shifts and phases. Now I feel like I have one that sticks, but I'm still interested in all of those past things. And I'm like, wow, there's a lot that I can do here. Do I build like this long term like polymath, sharing all of these different skills, or do I build up my account like choosing one thing, becoming an authority, niching down, targeting one person? And I've found that a little difficult at times. Now I've kind of got it down a little bit just for myself and how I want to market and share my like personal brand, personal business type of thing. But first, I do want to ask just to clarify for maybe me and people listening, what is a polymath? What is being a polymath? And how has that shown up for you in your like writing and creating game and business?
Mm. So it's tricky because I don't know if you've heard of the of Mensa. Have you heard of the of Mensa? So
Uh-uh.
Mensa is this organization it's specifically for people who have an IQ over like 120, was it 150 or something like that? But it has a bad reputation for in that like in that pretty much anybody who joins it, they just think that they're so super smart and high IQ, and like that's why
Yeah.
that's the and there's a little bit of a similar thing with the polymath word. I found that I discovered this online. I didn't even know that was a thing. But that's because the broad definition of it usually is attributed to people who have like a wide range of expertise across different fields. And like when we say expertise, we mean like they're expert, groundbreaking level in multiple fields. So like you're like so basically like the Leonardo da Vinci's, the
Yes. Okay.
the Thomas Jeffersons, the Goethas. I don't know how if I pronounced that correctly. Um, Novalis, like those guys, or I don't know, like the basically the founding fathers were all polymaths. So Ben Franklin
Yes.
too. Um, and that is true. I actually would agree with that. And I also hesitate to identify myself as a polymath too for that reason, just because I have a lot of respect and I guess almost reverence for like what it represents as well. But or to the word. But to me, it's really more of a way of being. And to me, it's like one of the only convenient words in the English language, and that point to this to what to really the Jungian sense of wholeness or this fullness of being that is largely non-existent nowadays. Because nowadays, we're all about okay, you got to master like this. I mean, typically it's you got to get really good at this job and provide, and then like you retire at 65. And to me, it's like this. It's kind of like there's this virus of specialization that's not just in your job, but in just like who you are. Oh, I'm an introvert, so I'm just going to be an introvert, and that's it. You know, to me, the polymath is kind of an antidote to all that. The way I actually wrote a newsletter about this in on Substack, where the polymath it's not just the dictionary definition of a polymath, because to me it just sounds too like intellectual when you just have
Yeah.
you know but it's not just that. To me it's like intellectual and psychological and spiritual development. So like a fully developed, to me a fully realized human being is really what that to me is what a polymath is and should be, or at least if it was like if you were to bring it into a modern context.
I really like that because it's like not everybody's going to be that like top tier expert right away across like a bunch of different domains, but you can like look up toward that. So it's more of the idea of like looking up toward a holistic development across different domains and not really specializing, just to like clear that up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Awesome. How does that show up for you in your work and your creation?
Mm. I think there's actually a tweet by Dan Coe that really sums it up, and I'm going to paraphrase it. I don't remember how it is exactly, but it's something like I like one day I want to be the next job Steve Jobs, and then another day I want to just throw my phone in the lake and go meditate with the monks. That's a like a kind of tension that I've noticed within my life where like part of me literally yesterday I was like, man, I want to be a billionaire, and I want to like achieve enlightenment, whatever that means. And and I think like part of it in my life has always been like, yeah, I want to get in shape. Like to me, I used to be like 50 pounds overweight. I used to be like borderline obese, and I struggled with that for years. Like I wanted to be like in shape, and like literally 10 years I struggled with that. And then don't no amount of bodybuilding.com articles were there to help me. But that struggle actually led me into this whole psychological slash spiritual slash like mental emotional side of things, and that led me to start exploring this other side that I didn't even notice before. And so I was like, oh shit, now I want to master that too. And so like I would say it's kind of led me through different realms of being and being open to that. And I would say that's also led me to this creator economy too, and writing. And it's interesting because um, I would say all that stuff that you go through is also just kind of it's material for writing in a way too. Like the more experiences that you have, the more you can just write about too. But that's kind of like how it's shown up for me. I don't know if that makes it clear or if there's more
Yeah.
I can expand on.
Yeah, definitely. I like how you summed it up at the end. It's like every little thing just can go back into creating again. Or like I've certainly seen that show up across all of these different like little interests that I've had and writing about them. It's like, okay, well now I know a lot about these little different like somewhat niche things. And then these ideas and concepts, they actually connect to each other when, for me at least, when I'm in the flow. And when I'm like just writing and words are flowing out of me onto this document, and then all of a sudden, some like random little thought comes up from a different like domain that I can connect to the idea that I'm writing about now. And it's super amazing when that happens because that's where your writing gets super unique, I think, at least. And that's like my main thing. I love writing. And when I write a good article, that's what makes me feel like some of the best that I've ever felt. That and recording podcasts too. Like after this, like we'll get off the call, I'd be like, all right, see you later. And I'd be like, oh, damn, that felt good. I loved that. So like, yeah, the podcast and the newsletter are two great things for connecting different ideas to make something that's extremely unique. And I know writing's like kind of your main vehicle, isn't it?
Hmm. That's it
Mm,
so far. I would like to get into YouTube eventually, though. That's actually the big thing.
yeah,
I
I've
have
been.
I have my camera right here. There you
Ooh,
go.
nice.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome. Better than a phone.
yeah.
Honestly, it's beautiful that you could do so much with just a phone too. Like I've recorded some YouTube videos and because that is for me as well too. It's like, okay, writing, doing a podcast, and then YouTube videos. So I've been just having like my newsletter in front of me after I write it because
Mm,
I don't like writing YouTube scripts. I like writing for the purpose of writing, but I can just
mm.
like I don't read the scripts, but I kind of use it as bullet points for like
Yeah,
just talking
yeah.
points, so it's somewhat structured. And then I just kind of go off on little rambles too. And like that's what the YouTube is
Hmm. Yeah.
for me at least. And I enjoy it. It's like,
Yes,
okay, I
yes.
can ramble about this completely like somewhat
Yes.
off topic thing that kind of connects, but yeah, and then keep it on the bullet point. So those have been like 30, 45 minutes sometimes of just me just absolutely yapping at the camera. But it's like that's what I've enjoyed with YouTube at least. But how do you see your YouTube channel being?
Something similar, actually.
Yeah.
In fact, it's funny, like I write, but I've found that I naturally, I forgot what it was. There's some statistic that I came across from a podcast. I don't even remember the statistic, but there's like most people they write to think, and then there's a population of people that a smaller, which is much smaller, which is like they have to talk to think,
Mm,
if that makes sense. So I actually find myself
yeah.
talking to myself out loud a lot, and I think that's where actually I naturally gravitate. And sometimes like when it comes to writing, it's easier for me to just turn on what's that, dictate, and then just like yap about something onto the page, and then I go in and then I turn that into prose sometimes, or I turn
Yeah.
that into writing. But I find myself, but anyways, on the topic of YouTube, yes, I see myself in that sort of combination. But I also really do like cinematography and just taking video and like looking like making like beautiful shots. So I was always like, I don't know if you've heard of this YouTuber called Gox. Um,
I've not.
no, you haven't. I can send it to you
Uh,
after. But he just makes like basically like these movie level productions in his room
mhm.
of him making art, and like he and he'll make like these amazing shots. There's a cool one that he does with a skateboard, but literally looks like a movie, and he just does it in his room with his.
Wow.
And so something like that with
Yeah.
the what I'm writing about on Polymath, something that'd be cool like that, and
Yeah.
maybe
With
travel.
adding into your polymath being like filmmaking
Yeah,
too. I think I
yeah.
actually may have heard of um that YouTuber now that you mention it because what was it? Was it last summer? 2 summers ago, I think. I don't remember. I had a different YouTube channel that was like sketch comedy, and I was writing comedy scripts, and then I'd like text my friends group chat and be like, "Hey, who wants to film a comedy video tonight? Like everyone come over, let's film." And I literally had no background, but I had always been I've been pretty funny like just in my friend group and stuff, and I was
Hmm,
obsessed with
hmm.
watching these sketch comedy videos. And I was like, this is so cool. One day I was sitting there and I was like, I'm gonna try to write one of these. And I literally wrote it up. I text my friends out of the blue and was like, hey, I just wrote a comedy video. Does anybody just want to come over and record it for fun? They came
That's
over like
awesome.
2.5 hours later. We did it, and I think I did like 25 or 30 videos or something. Um,
Hmm,
I still think the first one was one of the best ones. But if if anybody wants to watch it, this is embarrassing. But it's Reese Mulby sketch on YouTube. So just like sketch comedy, you'll find it. But it was like I unlocked this whole other world of thinking of like, okay, how do I like make the camera seem or make the actors or how do I direct the actors to do what I want to do? Directing was like my worst. I was not I was like,
hmm.
okay, do that again, but a little bit different. And now if I were coming back to it, it's like, okay, not like that at all. I would say something like,
Mm,
do it like do it like you're in a cave and you're talking to somebody across from it, but you don't want
mhm.
anybody else to hear, but they're across the cave from you. Or like just really
Mm.
unique things like that. Um,
Ah, I see. I
which I
see.
just like picked up these different little skills. Um, yeah, along with like lighting, lighting helped a ton because I realized like you can actually have a pretty crap camera and make it look fantastic with lighting. Lighting's the big thing.
Hmm,
Um, that also just a whole new way of writing. Like all of a sudden I'm writing like real life, like kind of situational conversations. So when that kind of like comedy sketch, like skit was done, not skit, what do you call it? I don't even know, like phase was over with. Um, I still took all those skills back into like
yeah.
my like creator economy, like helping people writing and things like that. And I don't know, it's just I didn't really create online a ton when I was doing the sketch comedy because I was like, this
Hmm,
is what's pulling my attention. I am really enjoying this right now. I'm gonna do more of it. So let's keep it going, keep it going. And my friends were loving it. It was such a great time to just hang out. Um, and then yeah, when that was over, it was like, oh, I have this whole new batch of skills now. Um, I don't even know where we were going with that. Oh, we were talking about YouTube, but I guess
yeah.
what I'd like to say is like for me, I've found that following whatever's like top of mind, that's kind of how you get into that polymath brain. It's
Hmm,
like, oh, like I've kind of been interested in astrology the last like year or so. So it's like whenever
hmm,
something comes up, I'll just research the astrology about it or something like that. Or yeah,
hmm,
sketch comedy's top of my mind. I didn't write any newsletters for like a whole summer because I was making YouTube videos. And I was like, that's not necessarily a bad thing because it's like you get to experience these different little things.
hmm. I would say that's a fundamental principle of polymath is you follow your curiosity like over anything else. And I
Yeah.
think you really have to honor your curiosity. And I think like it sounds obvious, but I would say it's very easy to get, well, I don't know, it could be easy, I don't know, but it can be easy to get stuck into like, oh, what should I do? What do people, what
Mhm.
is everybody else doing? Or what's, conventional wisdom instead of, okay, what are the things that I actually care about? What am I actually curious about? That's
Yeah.
what matters the most.
Yeah. And I definitely feel how that can be challenging too, because
Mhm.
who knows if I get another call to start making sketch comedy videos again, or if I am getting a calling to like go travel, or if I'm getting a calling to do some, maybe it's astrology readings after I know more about it in a year. It's like, oh, okay, do I leave behind what I'm doing, what I know works to follow this curiosity? And up till now I have, but it's also been a little different because literally up until this week I didn't have any steady form of online income. So
Hmm.
it's been a little bit of a battle, but I think that's where like over time it feels like it only gets easier and easier because you're just adding skills and adding experiences to your stack. And I don't know if have you experienced that as well?
Yes. Oh, oh, dude, absolutely. Um, I think too, like, have you read the book Range by, I forgot his name. It was David Epstein. Range by David
No,
Epstein.
I've not. I'm
He,
looking it up
it,
though.
it's a pretty interesting book, just on the nature of like generalists, and he doesn't really
Hmm.
mention the word polymath, but just generalists in general. But he found that a lot of people who are on the generalist path, they kind of are late bloomers, at least in terms of career, because
Yeah.
they're following a very unconventional path, but they're picking up a lot of different skills that begin to compound with time. But you just have to stick it through the part where it's flat for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, oh dang, things start to make a lot of sense. And I
Yeah.
think you kind of noticed that too, like when you were saying when you're right, and then all of a sudden, all these ideas that came from past experiences just start popping up. It's a similar thing. It's like, oh shoot, things are just kind of starting to make sense. And I
Yeah.
think that similar thing is going. But I also, yes, I do agree. I mean, dude, like, maybe you're experiencing this, but I have friends who already graduated college. Some of them are getting their masters, and they're some of them are in like nice good paying careers, and I'm still kind of figuring out this whole like creator economy thing out. So yeah, similar thing.
Yeah, certainly. It is. I do relate a lot to that like late bloomer thing because I'm like, yeah,
Hmm.
I'm figuring this out. Other people are certainly doing things that feel like they're more ahead. That's it's not ahead and that's not worse or
Hmm.
better. It's just different.
Yeah.
I'm taking a different path that I'm choosing. So
Hmm.
I really have the freedom. It's like, hey, I'm choosing this generalist route. Um,
Hmm.
a quick thought that I had too with the generalist. That sounds like it's kind of like that lower down version of the polymath. Like polymath is like the expertise in or a lot of different domains. Generalist may just be like the interests in the different domains.
Hmm. Yeah, it's tough because I mean, there's so many words. There's multi-passionate,
Yeah.
there's generalist, yeah, I mean, there's polymath. There's I've even heard multi-potential light, something like that. Um, I think I think these words exist and they're in the whole like collective consciousness for a reason now. Then why they're floating around now is because we do not yet have a clean set of like verbiage to point to this thing.
Yeah. Because everybody's been specialists up till now. Because if you
Mhm.
weren't, it feels like you wouldn't really survive. It's like, I don't know, like I'm thinking like in the village, your dad was the
Mhm.
smith. You have that skill because you've seen him doing it, being raised, so you
Mhm.
become the smith, and people need a smith in town, somebody to make their things. Same with writers, same with farmers, just all that stuff. If you weren't a specialist, somebody in your village wasn't going to have something that they need in the next generation. And it was easiest. You knew that you were raised around it. That's just what you could do. And now it feels like with the internet, that has changed a lot because we're seeing first, everything seems more accessible. You can contact anybody on the internet. Like I think about Joe Rogan. Um, with 2,000 plus podcast episodes, I'm sure that with the network he has built now, he could speak to any person in the world that he wanted just by asking his network, by asking
Mhm.
somebody he's had in a podcast, or he's really into UFC and comedy. Those are two huge other network streams. He could say, you know what, I want to reach out to this person about this idea, or I want to have this person on
Mhm.
my podcast. I'm pretty positive that he would have access to everybody in the world. And it's like, yeah, guys like us who we're not at at the Joe Rogan level, obviously. This is the Reese Moby podcast, not the Joe Rogan experience. But like we're building our network. I have now talked to this person who has access to this person who's talked to this person on a podcast. And it's really making me think it's like, wow, I have access to a lot of different people in the future. And that makes it far less risky, I think, to specialize in one thing, in doing whatever your dad did, whatever whatever your grandpa did, whatever his dad did, and things like that. So it feels like we're opening ourselves up in this younger generation with the internet for becoming generalists, polymaths, whatever it may be. Do you think AI has a what do you think about AI? I should just ask.
Mm,
I'll keep that kind of open-ended, relating to the generalists and polymaths and specialists.
mm. Yeah, I think AI really blew the whole thing wide open because I mean, with Google, I mean, dude, I mean, it's crazy to think about, but like when I was in college, I there was no AI yet. Um, it's just
Yeah,
crazy to think about. Like I feel like I'm a boomer when I'm talking like that, but that was only like 5 years ago, dude.
yeah.
And I just remember because I majored in engineering, so I just remember. Do you know what Chegg is?
Oh, I feel like I've heard of it. Maybe I don't.
It's like you have tech. It's a Chegg is this if you needed answers to your math problems, but with explanations, you would go on Chegg and search for the textbook
Mm,
that your math problems are from, and then you would look for it there.
I see.
And
Okay.
like it would have step by step how they solve the problems and
Yeah. I've
all
seen
that sort
some
of stuff.
familiar tools for my like homework or curriculum and stuff too. So yeah,
Yeah. So
that
you
was the
you
best
you have
tool.
that now. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But now like all I have to do is just throw that in the chat GPT and be like, okay, how the heck did they solve this? Can you give it step by step? And that is just I mean, we take that for granted now because it's everywhere and we probably use it a lot, but I mean, that's insane. I and all of a sudden every field that you could possibly think of, every weird branch of math or physics or whatever is suddenly accessible to you through ChatGPT or through AI. And I mean, obviously, it's you still need to have some kind of knowledge to know that it's not just BSing you, but you pretty much have at your tools like a Jarvis, and you can be like basically all I'm saying is AI can give you the superpowers to be or to empower you to be a polymath or to be polymathic
Yeah.
slash generalist today. And it only adds to that.
Yeah. I have certainly seen that come up because it's like, okay, I mentioned like I've been into astrology the last year or so. It's like I
Hmm.
can contact AI about these ideas and stuff. I don't need to pay $200 for an astrology reading. I can be like, "Oh, what is the moon in today?" Okay, I can say, "AI, the moon is in this sign today. What does that mean for this?" And it's like I don't need to pay an astrologist or I don't need to get lucky and stumble upon it on social media. It's right there. Like AI can just say, "Boom, this and this." I think it's certainly also helped with writing too. Because I really related with what you said earlier about like kind of being more of a speaker than a writer. I've noticed that I'm a little bit of both, and even my human design, which is another self-understanding system, says that like I figure out things and I get new ideas while speaking. So yeah, I've done like
Hmm.
the voice notes and
Yep.
stuff, and I'll go for a walk and have a 30-minute voice note and put it into AI, and I'm like, okay, give me all the key points from this so I don't have to listen to it back. And it's like, boom, that saved me there. At least 30 minutes of listening back to it. But then also, it's like, I can now apply these things and these random, seemingly random ideas to my different skill sets. And it's like, gosh, I don't know. I do have to sit with that for a minute of like how powerful AI really is as a wonderful tool for people to get good at everything. Because it's like, yeah, when AI was first coming around, I was a senior in high school, but I was taking a couple college classes, And I did. I used AI for every single one of my government um essays, and the writer was an old guy too, like in his eight, or the professor was an old guy and like in his 80s or something. And I really liked him. And he always like it was like 100% on almost every single article essay that I would write, and he would have a note like, "Wow, this is amazing, Reese." And I was like, I'm just using AI for all this. And I was like, I kind of felt bad, but like that's what it was first around for me. And that was like
Yeah.
one of the first AI experiences that I remember having was like, wow, this saved me so much time. If I was going about it the right way, I could have learned all that stuff so much faster and created a higher quality article now, which I do weekly with my newsletter. And it's, yeah, I love it. I think it's a fantastic tool. I think, do you think it's kind of taking away like specialists? I know Elon Musk has had a lot of big ideas about like how AI and how AI robots will take over like a lot of specialist skills. So do you
Mm.
think that becoming like multidisciplinary, like that polymath lifestyle, is a little bit AI proof, or where do you sit with that?
Yeah, this is actually something I've just beginning to think about, but I think there's a very strong economic argument for just becoming a polymath in general. And I think uh, I think it depends on like how you define a specialist, because I mean,
Mm,
in a way, you could say Pablo Picasso was kind of a specialist in a way. Like if you think about it, like he had a very specific, distinct style in the way that he painted. Um, but then there's also a specialist who is kind of just doing the same repetitive tasks day in and day out, and then you slap a job title on that. And there's a lot of that. I work in a hospital, a corporate hospital. Like I see that firsthand. Like my job actually at the hospital is a boring, repetitive task that I know it should be replaced by AI, or could be, I guess. And so I think for for the Pablo Picassos, you're probably not going to get. I wouldn't imagine that you'd be replaced by AI, but for the repetitive stuff, like that is for sure. Like that's gone. I would say that's gone. And I think, um, and in a way, to be like the Pablo Picasso, I think you do that in general by following a lot of your interests and allowing your own special thing, whatever that is, to emerge out of you following your own interests and curiosity. And I think ultimately that's going to be the moat between getting like replaced. And I think also AI will help you in that uh, in that case
yeah,
as
and
well.
specializing. Yeah.
Hmm.
It sounds like the key for not having, if you were worried about AI, it sounds like the key is like just follow your curiosities because they will lead you to being like the top number one like specialist, like a Pablo Picasso type, or they will lead you in 100 different directions and it'll be really confusing, maybe make you a little bit nervous, but you will find this whole wide array of skill sets that you can then become super unique with. So yeah, just following curiosities sounds like a
Yeah.
great way to sum that up. Is like, don't
Yeah.
worry about AI.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, don't worry about AI and like learn how to use it. Like that's pretty much it.
Yeah, yeah, leveraging it. How do you like to leverage AI?
I think I think a lot of people like to use it, at least in this space, like to use it this way. But I like to use it as a sort of like a thinking sparring partner, or I'll test ideas with him or with ChatGPT, whichever platform you choose, and then we'll just kind of like bounce back stuff together. It's cool because another topic. It's interesting that you when you were talking about astrology, because like within one chat you can go from astrology, and then let's say maybe I can go into some other part of like spirituality, or even you can there can be some like quantum physics stuff too that emerges out of that. You can go between different fields within the same chat. But for me, I like to use it as a thinking sparring partner, especially when I'm writing. I don't really like to have ChatGPT write stuff for me, but I
Yeah,
do like to write stuff and then have like throw ChatGPT or throw it into ChatGPT and be like, okay, what do you think of this? Does this make sense? Stress test this, like debate against me, stuff like that to to yeah, as a thinking sparring partner.
Yeah, that's cool. I've only recently started to do that for a
Mhm,
couple things. Like, I use it, I think last week, 2 weeks ago. I was just stuck in a newsletter that I was pretty,
mhm,
like, I was flowing with and it was good. And I was literally just stuck. And I copy and pasted it into AI. Um,
mhm,
and I was like, what gaps are in my argument here? What is not clear for people? What am I missing? And then just ask me questions to expand my thinking on this idea. And it did. It asked me clarifying questions, things like that. And I'm like, oh, wow, this makes complete sense. And I believe, I don't even remember what email it was, to be honest, what newsletter it was, but it was like it changed. The second half of my newsletter was different because I had realized like, oh, I can cover this completely, not completely different, like completely other perspective that I didn't think about until it prompted me with the question. And I think that that's a super powerful thing, is like have make AI prompt you with the thinking instead of you prompting it with the thinking. So instead of
mhm,
asking it questions, give it a resource to base itself off of,
mhm,
and then have it ask you questions so it's still your thoughts and your thinking. And it sounds
mhm,
like that relates so much to the sparring partner and creativity, like creation kind of. Um,
mhm.
that's been a super, super powerful way. And I only just realized that. And then I wrote a tweet. I just pulled it up. Um, it goes, I found the issue with AI's creativity. It can't make those random connections. It's stuck in the logical mind. Time and time again, when I'm writing or recording a podcast, something randomly pops into my head, randomly in quotes, because it's all divinely orchestrated. Randomly pops into my head, and I make an extremely cool connection. And AI can't do this because it's based off training and logical connections and nothing more. And now reading that back, it connects perfectly to the polymath idea. Just like, oh, I'd be writing,
Mhm.
something would randomly pop in my head. AI can't do that because it doesn't have those experiences.
That's beautiful, and I can't
Yeah.
agree more.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. Well, talked a lot about AI. We could shift it up a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm
no
curious, is
man.
there anything top of mind for you right now?
Mm.
What have you been doing
One.
lately?
Well, actually, it's interesting too, because I think this is also part of the polymath thing. Is I think something that relates is in like the whole. I think you could probably sum it up to like inner work. So like the spirituality, the therapy, the breath work, um, all that whole realm of stuff, like consciousness. I think that
Yeah,
also plays a role in just the whole polymath thing because I think it's really easy to just to me it's not just like the creativity and the output or the productivity of a polymath. To me, it's also like this. It's like kind of the stuff that you're talking about with the holistic stuff, the consciousness, the David Hawkins, the Ken Wilber stuff. And to me, that's also like have been like a really big part for me because I like to meditate. I have gone to therapy. I did that retreat with Jack and I did shrooms and all that sort of stuff. I think that's a huge part of it as well. It's I would say it's like maybe like psychological, spiritual slash emotional hygiene is a big part of that as well. I had to put that
that's
out there.
interesting. Yeah, that's cool. I like that connecting thought because like you think of polymath and you think like hard skills, like okay, what can I do? Well, I can market, I can video edit, I can write, but you don't think about the mindset that's behind those things. Like from what space are you coming at these skills with? Do you think that makes learning skills easier or learning skills different?
Mm, I think I think it makes it easier and different in that I think when you are just in a better place, whatever that means to you, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, then you'll be able to find the things that are you're just naturally more open to the things that you're actually curious about, and you have the energy or the tools or whatever to be able to pursue them. Because it's one thing, like for me, like it's one thing if I'm curious about stuff, but if I'm like crippling depressed, then I cannot go after those
Yeah.
things even if I tried, right? And so it's kind of, I think it's kind of both.
Yeah. That's powerful. I certainly agree. Thank you for bringing that up. Have you gone through any like dark period of your life that got you through to this new like way of being?
Oh yeah, man. Dude, I mean, we could go down that route if you really if you want to. We could go into that. Do you?
Yeah, I would be open to it
Yeah.
if you are.
Yeah, I mean, so let's see. I mean, this is probably a thing that a lot of guys suffer with too, or like struggle with is porn addiction. You know, that's a thing that kind of really hit me for shit, dude. I mean, we get exposed to that as at a very young age. I know some people who did it since elementary school. I personally got into it like maybe when I was 12, 13 years old. And then add to that, I was depressed and like I told you, I was overweight, like borderline obese for most of my life. That does a lot to your own self-image and to just the way that you like exist in the world. I mean, there's still a lot of things I'm healing from all that sort of stuff. But in a way, it was also a blessing because I wouldn't have learned all those like these specific modalities. Yeah, I wouldn't have gone into meditation, into spirituality, into therapy, into all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was working through that. And for the record, I haven't like I'm like one like almost I think like over 18 months porn free now. And I'm not obese anymore. So it took a lot of work to get to that point. But yes, those are some of the things that have informed my whole view around that. Because it's not
Yeah.
just the skills, but it's the inner being as well.
Yeah, so it goes in what we were just saying. That's beautiful. I'm very happy for you. Very similar for
Thanks, man.
me. I think I'm in like that 18, 24 month range of no porn, somewhere in there. Um, I was having a conversation about like porn with my girlfriend the other day because and we've been together almost a year now. Um,
Wow,
and that has
congrats.
not been like thank you. And that has not been like a thing for we were like very clear. It's like, okay, yeah, obviously no porn with each other. I don't know how that's a debate in some relationships. But it came up and we were just chatting about it, like how it used to be for us, our stories. It's very similar to what you just shared. Um, and I just was like, I was thinking about it, and I just felt like this inner disgust and like guilt. And I had to remind myself, I was like, this is not something to be guilty about. Like that happened, how it happened, and like, yeah, I would never want that now. And I wish that I didn't do that. Well, maybe it's not that I wish that I didn't do that, but
Hmm.
it does, yeah, it reminds you of like, wow, I'm so grateful that I got to go through that and look at the way that I see women and relationships now. It's like I'm no longer afraid or I mean different because I have a girlfriend, so I should be afraid to
Yeah.
go approach other women.
Yeah.
But when
I know
when
what
I
you mean.
stopped
Yeah.
watching it, when there was a woman around or a female coworker even, it was like I suddenly didn't feel trapped or afraid or tense in these spaces. I was like, yeah, she's just a person. I stopped seeing her in this different, very negative way. And
Hmm.
this was just all women in general. And at the time, I wouldn't have said or thought that that was an issue. And I certainly wouldn't have thought that porn was what was causing that because I just didn't know any better. And then I broke free. It was like I can suddenly just have a normal conversation with a girl again. And it's like I lost that for so many years because I saw them like up as higher. I was like, oh, wow, that's a girl. Like I need a girl, you know, and like just those negative, nasty urges that were below that. And then, yeah, breaking free was like just so much comfort and so much ease came to me after that. And it really has just been, I don't know, like an early form of enlightenment in a way. It's like I didn't realize how trapped in this, like, I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it, like how trapped I was in that space. And I'm sure that you felt similar too.
Yeah, dude. And it feels like a negative like vortex, and there's like a
Yeah.
giant magnet at the bottom of it. And you keep trying to pull up, swim up, but you keep getting sucked in. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, dude. it's funny too, because it was like 1 year after I quit porn, I found my current girlfriend, and it's been amazing.
Mm,
And it actually kind of speaks to that, what you were talking about in the beginning. I'm not sure what you wrote about when regards to like the masculine and feminine energies, but there is
mm,
a lens where you could speak to there's a sort of deficit of like feminine energy within you, even though like we're both, right? And so you seek outside things to nourish that deficit, that inner deficit of feminine energy, when the call is to be able to do that within, right? That's really
yeah,
what's supposed to happen. But
yeah,
I think
that's
like once
powerful.
you, yeah, that's the very young Carl Jungian lens on it.
Mm, I love that. I'd be interested to get into more. But yeah, I did just kind of write about it. Um, as a little bit more of a surface level of like, okay, what is masculine and feminine energy? Like, it
Hmm.
doesn't mean gender roles, or it doesn't mean that like because you're a guy you do this and because you're a girl you do this. It was yeah,
Yeah.
just a pretty
Yes.
like general like yeah, balancing these energies within us
Yeah.
and being able to shift and be malleable and say like, okay, I'm in extremely masculine energy. I'm building this thing, but now I want to market this thing. So I'm going to shift into the feminine energy and I'm going to be extremely empathetic and compassionate and understanding. Now I
Mm,
understand how this person feels. Now I can shift
mm,
back into my business and I have the perspective that I need to help people because I got into the feminine.
mm,
And then maybe you're working a lot, like a lot of long days and just focus, focus, focus. You need to phase into the feminine a little bit and just be for a day or
mm.
two straight and not do anything. So, yeah, it was just kind of surface level stuff like that, but just sharing with people that as a man, because I'm a man, doesn't mean that feminine energy has to. It doesn't mean I have to resist feminine energy or being feminine at times.
Mhm,
Or I even think being feminine and feminine energy is two very different things. So I misspoke there. But yeah, like
mm.
it's okay to be in my feminine energy and just be and just kind of like right now it's just like just having a conversation, just being in the conversation, or just relaxing, or just sitting there and doing absolutely nothing.
I think that's really the meta thing. Very Zen.
Yeah, yeah, extremely zen. Have you gotten like into like zen at all? Like I've just heard about it and heard some ideas, but I've not really like studied or read anything about it.
I really, honestly, to be honest, I really haven't. I think like
Yeah.
my whole spiritual thing has been around, or I guess has been kind of around like, the Bhagavad Gita, and like some of like the old spiritual texts, and some mystic Christianity. I know there are the koans. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're like these, they're these Zen riddles that are designed to kind of, they're supposed to bypass the rational mind and go straight to that which is like to non-dual thinking. So there's one that
Okay.
I think about a lot, where it's like, what's the sound, like, like there's the sound of two clapping hands. So then what's the sound of one clapping hand? And they're pretty much supposed to make you like, well, how do I answer that?
Yeah,
And then you're supposed
exactly.
to think about them forever until I guess one day finally you get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you're enlightened.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's
Yeah, I
really
guess so.
cool. What are they called? Should we look one up and read one out?
Yeah, yeah, do it. It's a Koan, a koan, Zen koan. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Okay. Yeah, is a paradoxical riddle, story, or question in Zen Buddhism. Okay. Um okay, I found a post just on some some website. This is so funny. Okay, here we go. Uh one is just what is this? That's good. Um okay, out of nowhere comes the mind. Wait. I misread that. Out of nowhere, the mind comes forth. It's like they are nowhere, but they still come forth.
Out of nowhere, the mind comes forth. That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I remember there was this like, gosh, I forgot what it was called, and I wish I remembered it so bad because it was so funny. I might be able to pull it up on my Safari. Um, but it was like this AI generated like wellness bot, and it was like spiritual like music and stuff, and it would say like these it would say like these like spiritual quotes, but it was really, really bad, and it was AI, and they were so hilarious, called Inspirobot. So inspirobot.me, if anybody has the time to like go on and listen to that, it's so funny because he like speaks from this very spiritual place, but the text would actually be like some absolutely outrageous thing. I'm gonna start it and see if something will come up quick and read one out because I can't even explain. Okay, I clicked on it, and the first one that pulls up is repeat this to yourself. My life is insignificant. My life is insignificant. And it's just and it just goes on and on with different stuff like that. So me and my friends would be hanging out and we're like, let's listen to Inspirobot for a few minutes. Like I need to get hyped up. Like I need to just feel an inspiration right now. And it's just dumb stuff like that. It's so dumb. And
Dude, I
so
just
that
tried it. Look, I just tried it.
yeah,
It
it's
says
so
here,
funny.
mind control is the cake of the agnostics.
See, it's like
What is it?
meaningless. So that's what these Zen koans reminded me of, but the Zen koans are actually like you can meditate on those where I don't know if I'd want to meditate on Inspirobot too much. But gosh, maybe my next podcast episode should just be an hour of Inspirobot. Like I just
Hey man,
listened
why
to
not?
it. Yeah, I'll
We
invite
do
you on there.
we commentate on it and we act like it's like actually
Yes.
serious stuff that it's
Yeah,
saying.
we commentate on it. Yeah, that's what my friends and I would do. We'd be like, "Oh, yeah, that hits. That hits. That's deep. I really feel that one."
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's always a good time. But the Zen koans, that's great. I don't know if I found a super good one on a website. I bet AI could generate something interesting too. But
Hmm.
yeah, just those things that you can like just sit with. I tweeted a couple weeks ago. It's like I've found that I think that I'm more of a ponderer than a meditator because
Mm-hmm.
like 2 months ago, maybe, I wanted to, I was like, okay, I want to actually set the habit and the routine of meditation because I had done it. I'd sat down for like 5 or 10 minutes, like once or twice a month, but I was like, I'm going to do this every single day. So I'd wake up, set a 20-minute timer, and meditate pretty much immediately after waking up. And after it, I would feel good. I was extremely peaceful, very still going into my mornings, but I was like, I don't know if this is really it for me. And I have the Insight Timer app, and I had like a 36-day streak of 20 minutes a day. And I was like,
Hmm.
I'm just gonna experiment and see what it's like if I just stop. And I felt no different. And
Oh, okay.
I think that I just meditate in different ways. Like I love going for walks.
Yes.
I love just sitting and thinking. I will just sit on the bed with no phone and just stare and like lounge around and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I think that I like pondering more. It doesn't have for me, it doesn't have to be that sit with my eyes closed and just watch the thoughts pass. That has been valuable at times. As a habit, I don't think so, but yeah, like let me just ponder all the time. Whenever I get a
Mm.
chance, it's like let me just think about things. And I still do breath work daily. So that kind of gets me that like relax, like rest the nervous system, things like that. So I get some of the meditation benefits from that. But then, yeah, breath works up and I'm like, cool, time to ponder.
Dude, okay, so I have a thing to say to that actually. I met this I was on the bus in LA like a couple like last year and she so I met this lady in the seat in front of me because like there was like a stop on a train station and or like one of the train stations was closed, so I had to take a bus
Mm,
to another train
okay.
station. Yeah, that's why I was on the bus. And I spoke out loud to myself like, "Oh, I got to get to this next station." And so this lady in front of me was like, "Oh, you have to get to like that station?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yes." And she's like, oh, thank you. And she was this we started talking actually, and she's this West African lady. She's Muslim, and she had like the hijab on. And we were talking, and she was heading to this Hindu temple in LA in Culver City. And I was like, wait, but why are you going there? She's like, I'm gonna go meditate with the Hindus over there. And I'm like, wait, but aren't you like Muslim? And how does that work? And actually, I remember she said something like, my friend, we are all walking the same path to the divine. And basically all that to say is like there's just so many, like that's the beauty of this
Yeah.
thing is you have so many different there's so many different ways, so many different avenues. There's not one particular way that's the one way. Like you can meditate, you
Yeah.
can ponder, you can, I mean, you can journal too. Like all of that is just the kind of like the same thing, but everybody has their own way of
Yeah.
like doing it, you know?
I love that. It goes back to just follow your curiosity. It'll bring you what you're meant to have. Maybe I go through a phase in my life where I meditate for 60 minutes every day or something like that. I'm extremely
Yeah.
open to that. Right now,
Yeah.
no, because I don't think I need to. But if
Hmm.
it came to that, I'm certainly open to it. I'd be open to three
Hmm.
hours a day if that's what I was really feeling called to do. It reminds me of, I don't remember who said it, but we're all just walking each other home. It
Was
reminded
that
me very
Ramdas
much, yes, is it? Yeah, I
or
believe.
Alan was?
I think it's just, I think it's Ram Dass. Yeah, it is Ram Dass. I read
Mhm.
like half of his autobiography, but then I think I just started reading something else and forgot about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're all just trying to connect to God in some way.
Hmm.
Yeah, love
Hmm.
that. How do you do it? What do you like to do?
Uh, I would say, yeah, I think meditation a lot. Actually, and funny now that I realize you're in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually learned this meditation from a guy in Minnesota who like he went to India to get trained on it and all that sort of stuff. I just realized that. Holy shit, you guys are
Wow.
both in Minnesota. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Um yeah, I learned that from it, and I've been doing that like pretty much every day actually. I learned it last June. Yeah, and I've been doing it every day. And then also a little bit of prayer, and also um there's this one book that I really like. It's well, actually I like a lot of them. I like the Bhagavad Gita. I read that. I actually have a copy like on my desk right now. I'm looking at it. And yeah, just reading spiritual texts and prayer and
Mm.
meditation. And then also long walks
Oh yeah.
have been very helpful, and just like dialoguing with God, pretty much talking to God. That's also another thing too, which is kind of wild to me because honestly, dude, like for most of my life, I was like hardcore atheist. Like, and it's only the past 2-ish years where this new thing has kind of emerged.
Yeah. That's amazing. What
Hmm.
could you tell the story?
Yeah. So okay, I'm Filipino, so we are predominantly Catholic slash Christian. I mean,
Okay.
depends on who you ask, like, but but yeah, we're predominantly, but I always had this, I say this thing where um I was baptized too, but my parents, I always say my parents didn't take me to church enough for it to
Mm.
stick, but they took me often enough to make it annoying. Like that's the pet thing. And so I
Mm.
never really developed any sort of like religious sort of like capacity growing up. But I was exposed to a lot of the stories in the Bible. I remember actually, it was actually kind of one of my favorite was this it wasn't the it was like a kid's book of all like that curated a lot of the big stories from the Bible, like,
Okay.
you know, like Moses and the Noah's Ark, and you know, then yeah, like New Testament stuff. So pretty much all the highlights of the Bible, and but that was pretty much my religious um background growing up. I remember in high school there was this landmark Supreme Court decision. I think it was in the 30s, and it was about some teacher who was teaching like the Darwinian evolution in school. And so the school the school district was like it was at a Catholic school, So the school district was like, yo, you can't be doing that like this. You have to do it in accordance with our teachings. And so it went up to the Supreme Court, and they ruled that it was that he was allowed to teach um, evolution on the grounds that you can't impose a specific religion in education. And we had to debate like, okay, was that correct or not? So that's a very slippery slope,
Yeah.
because that eventually turns into like God versus evolution. Like that's eventually how it's gonna how it's gonna go, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember I was on hardcore like evolution and like not God like at that time. And um I don't remember eventually, but like I'm gonna be skipping a lot through a lot of stuff, but like
Yeah. No
you know
problem.
but there's a lot string of things like COVID happened, like I was like depressed, and like I got into like I had a heartbreak, and then like this really bad situationship. And then like it was like 2023, that's when I would always say like that's when I had this sort of spiritual awakening. And I think that's when like the like I started to get like cracked open. And
Yeah.
then doing shrooms with Jack, and then I did shrooms like actually 3 times last year. That really kind of like opened me up to kind of like this more experiential, um yeah, this more like first like direct experience of God, as what I would say. That's kind of where it
Yeah.
really started to end, with the meditation and everything like that.
Mm,
But
that's
yes.
wonderful. Then that all yeah, the meditation, the long walks, everything
Hmm.
that then just becomes an avenue to connect deeper with him and build that relationship. That's what I always feel so good after breath work, and I will just sit there in front of my red light machine and I'm like, thank you, God. I love you. Thank you for the breath. Thank you for everything. And I'm like, this feels so good. I love this. Yeah, I love that story too. I think that the God versus evolution for sure is like one of the first like kind of tipping points for somebody going into like that like atheist or agnostic kind of state because they're like, well, okay, the science is saying this. I don't know how did the God just Earth and humans and things like that. And
Yep.
I will say that I understand, right? Like coming from when you say it that way, it's like, oh yeah, like I don't makes no sense, but there's at least some reasoning behind the science. What popped up when you were saying that, and what I've just thought a little bit before in the past too, because I also went through that brief transition of like, I don't know about God, like this just doesn't sound right. But like,
Mm-hmm.
what is like, how is science any different of a religion than Christianity or any religion? You know, how is science not a religion? Or what beyond science proves science? Because what beyond religion proves religion? You know, like how is that, what do you call it? Kind of like a paradox. It's like how come science can prove itself but religion can't or spirituality can't or something like that. And it's like I just don't know if that's fair, but it's like science
Mm-hmm.
is seen so high on this pedestal as truth when things have kind of broken science before. Now religion may be up in the air, but God created the earth. That would break science. Or even like quantumly, like with the light slit experiment, that kind of broke science a little bit because we realized that things were moving in particles and waves, I believe is what it was. So, yeah, that was just an interesting thought that I had about that.
Mm. Yes. There's actually like I think like maybe like 3 quotes or phrases that came to mind, and I'll kind of string them together. I actually
Cool.
just came across this again today. There's one, I think it's from Carl Jung, or it's from one of the people who are like all about like Carl Jung. Um, the desire to explore the unconscious, our unconscious and our religious um, leanings are basically the same urge. That's
Mm,
one quote. And then, um, actually, no, it's just one quote. And then, and it actually kind of relates to the whole polymath thing as well, actually, the way I see it. But basically, at least the way I see it, is science is pretty much been like at the best tool that we have ever created for explaining like the material, physical aspect of existence.
yeah.
And but um that's really all that it's really like great at. And like it might be able to tell us things about like, how to exist, how to be, but I think like I think that's where stuff like spirituality and all that is supposed to help us, like
Yes.
religion and spirituality. And I think I think the whole point of spirituality is that it's supposed to be beyond the rational mind. Like I think that's like one of the whole points of it. And I
Yeah.
think moving forward, like the way of being is somebody who is able to integrate both of those into themselves. So
Mm,
it's like you lean on the rational, but you also like understand that hey, this rational existed. This is just one aspect of being. Put another way, like science is just another way of describing reality, like
hmm
like the totality of reality, whereas and spirituality is for describing these other deeper aspects of reality that science is incapable of understanding. So there's no conflict. They're simply just
hmm
different things entirely.
different avenues of truth for different parts of life or parts of being. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
science will help you with the physical, something else can help you with the mental, something else can help you with the spiritual. That's great. It really goes back to that the balancing the masculine and feminine energies that we briefly touched on. It's like you can be in the masculine, in the physical, in the material, in the science, in the rational, and then you can shift back into the feminine and be in that more spiritual space or the metaphysical or things like that.
that's
That's
right.
cool.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
think like I think everything kind of points towards being a more whole human being. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of like part of the purpose or the mission in life to me.
hmm I love that. I gotta say, I also loved when you were just talking, you're like, it kind of connects back to the polymath thing. Something like clicked in my head when you said that, and I'm like, when you are a polymath, everything connects to the polymath thing.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
know,
like,
right?
that's so awesome.
That's true.
Yeah, it's like because I literally find myself saying that so much on podcasts, and I think that so much while writing is like we'll be talking about some conversation, and I'm like, yeah, it kind of goes back to when we were talking about that. If you listen to all my podcasts, I'm sure I say that once or twice in almost every single episode. It's like I just like being that polymath and being the generalist, seeing the big picture. You're primed for connecting these different little things that don't feel connected, and you make the connections, and it just makes things so much more fun to talk about, I think.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. We should get a counter to see like how many times you do it per episode.
I know. I should go back. Back connecting back to the power of AI, but like we were just talking
Ah,
about,
there you go.
we could we could just put it all in AI and say how many times do I say that in there? I just added one to the list.
Yes, there you go.
That's awesome. Is there anything lastly that you wanted to hit on or mention to people? We can hop pretty soon.
No, there's nothing else on my end. What about you?
Awesome. I'm good. I think we covered a lot of different things. I wasn't expecting them all. I had so much fun. This was one of the most fun conversations that I had, just exploring so many different ideas and connecting everything. And I love that.
That was fun, man. Let's do it again.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Where can people find you if they want to read more or connect with you?
Yeah, I'm on Threads and Substack. The username is the same, I believe. Is there usernames on Substack? I forgot. Oh yeah,
I think I'll link them both.
yeah, I'm on mainly Threads and Substack.
Okay, cool. What's the at in case people want to search it?
It's so for Threads, it's my last name and first name. So Labajo Aaron. L-A-B is in Bravo, A-J-O, and then Aaron.
Okay, awesome. And those will both be linked for people. Well, Aaron, I really appreciate you coming on here today. I had a ton of fun. You have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, bro. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.